Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. We are in the studio today, and I'm glad that you guys are here with us today. Today, we're going to be talking about modern day plantations. Let that saturate in your mind and get your thoughts of reverberating modern day plantations. I'm in the studio today with my producer, Matt. We call him White Soul. What's good, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Matt. You got to work on that radio voice. I'm doing pretty good, Kareem. How you doing? Let me hear
How are you doing, Kareem? I mean, I don't know. I work in news
it.
for most of it. Like,
He works in news most of his life, so he has to just make sure that he's articulating and getting the information out. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation. Let them know that Straight Talk is in full session. I want to begin, as we often say, that we are going to give Black History 365 days, since that's how we live it. And I wanted to start off our show today with giving us something that I didn't know, but I thought it was really interesting. And so I wanted to share it with you that on this day in Black History, December of 1900, December 3rd, 1900, the National Negro Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, composed by James Weldon and James Rosamond Johnson. James was written. So James Weldon Johnson, chair of the Florida Baptist Academy in Jacksonville, Florida, sought to write a poem in commemoration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. However, amid the ongoing civil rights movement, Johnson's decided to write a poem which was themed around the struggles of African Americans following the Reconstruction era, including the passage of Jim Crow laws in the South. So, Lift Every Voice and Sing was first cited by a group of 500 students in 1900. His brother, J. Rosamond Johnson, would later set the poem to music. After a Great Fire of 1901, the Johnsons moved to New York to pursue a career on Broadway. In the years that followed, Lift Every Voice and Sing was sung with black communities. Johnson wrote that the school children of Jacksonville just kept singing the song. They went off to other schools and sang and became teachers and taught it to their children. Within 20 years, it was being sung over the South and so many parts of the country. In 1919, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored Folks, that's the NAACP, dubbed Lift Every Voice and Sing the Negro National Anthem for its power in voicing a cry for liberation and affirmation for African American people. James Weldon Johnson would be appointed to serve as the NAACP's first executive secretary for the following year. It has similarly been referred to what we call the Black National Anthem. If you are celebrating your birthday on today, you are doing so with the likes of Boop Boop Roll Over, It's Too Fast, Trina, and also Montel Jordan, showing us this is how we do it. So we certainly are glad to have you all here today. Yeah, we need y'all to get in here because I got to have a real conversation. We're going to talk about modern day plantations and everything that means. First in the social media stream, actually first to post. We got Saginaw Cap. My brother Jeffrey Bulls is out there. Jeff, we're going to be seeing you real soon so that we can have a conversation. There's a lot that's happening in our community, and we want to make sure that we're making decisions that impact our bottom line in the communities that we live in. Amen. All right, so I want to talk a little bit now. This is where the controversy starts. We're already starting. I should have listened to what my mama said. She said, "You ain't gonna have no friends because you be just saying what you want to say." But today we get ready to have a conversation. We're gonna talk about modern day plantations, get the family involved in this conversation. But before we do that, I want to what's on my mind. Y'all know that I always say what's on my mind, and so I want to share what's happening right now in the Kareem Bowen world. I shared on one of my other platforms, United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. It's where we have conversations that are about race, and we do so on a platform that is not consistent. Straight Talk is an urban platform. That other one is not an urban platform, but it is a more of a platform that is mostly white. It's a white platform, but we have these conversations. But I need to bring this one home to the family, and the reason I want to do this, you'll understand why. Pharrell, the artist, the producer turned singer turned rapper, has recently, I don't know, those of you who are inclined or in tune with what's happening in the urban world, will realize that he has now formed a partnership with LV, Louis Vuitton. And he recently had a fashion show. And now he has released what is his first $1 million, his first bag. Now everybody's wearing bags. Before we believed that pocketbooks or purses or whatever was what women wore. But now with this bending of what I would call gender neutralization, where there is no more male or female, or at least that's the goal of many. We see that there is this gender bending thing that many of our athletes have bought into. Most of our celebrities, folks across the world, it just seems to be more prevalent in my community, our community. And maybe it's just me because I'm black, so I pay attention to what black folks are doing. Um, but Pharrell came out with what is now deemed and what he has named $1 million bag. And the $1 million bag is just that. It is $1 million bag. He created this bag. It comes in, I think, 4 colors. The one that he put out there on display, or the one that's getting the most attention, is the one that he showed himself carrying, which is kind of like a bright gold. All of the hardware that is on the bag is gold, real gold. None of the cheap stuff. This is all real quality. So, anyways, my question that I ask, and now I pose to the family, why do you think he would market, as well as Louis Vuitton, I'm sure, had a great hand in deciding the direction of this, a bag which would be turned $1 million bag? Furthermore, I said that it was because it was the market to target young black athletes and young black Hollywood celebrities, and really athletes and music industry folk, to get them to buy this $1 million bag, because once again we are not we are consumers, and so we consume the heck out of everything that we own. Good evening to those of you who are coming in: Geraldine Bourne Walker, Alma Ball Collier, Cherise Steele Phillips. Let's get the family in here. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation so that we can continue. We're talking about Pharrell and his $1 million bag. Well, I positioned before in my other platform that this bag was targeted. It was a targeted move by this company to target an industry of folks who are consumers, who do nothing but flaunt the wealth that they have. And I say, hey, people can buy what they want to buy, but it's the targeting that got me. So I happened to see after that conversation, and folk didn't think that it was a racist move, but I tend to think that it is, because they weren't targeting something. We're always targeted because we worship at the altar of consumerism and vanity. Jeffrey Bulls, you are understanding exactly what I'm saying. And so some of this stuff we create and cause for ourselves. But this $1 million bag has my skin boiling, because I often, also, this is the world in which I come from, sports and entertainment. I've seen athletes paying, $300,000 for a pair of yellow diamond earrings. That is enough that people not only buy a house, we could fuel a number of salaries for folk to take care of their family. I've seen consumerism at its worst, and I think that you should be able to do whatever it is that you want to, but this type of targeting drives me bananas. So we got our boy PJ Tucker. He handily reminds us that Pharrell's $1 million bag, which is ultra expensive crocodile leather duffel, exists in early November by a photo dump he did on Instagram, revealing his personal order form for the $1 million bag. And if you were wondering how much the $1 million bag costs, the name says it all: $1 million. Now, what gets to me is this: that we buy into this world. And it was funny because someone said to me once, I was talking with an athlete, and we were saying, we were talking about different things. And I said, dude, you got to do something different. I see what you're doing here. And I said, you got to make some changes that are different. And they told me that this is what the world expects of them. And it blew my mind that they could be so aware that what they're doing was utterly foolish, but we're willing to do it because this is what the world expected of them. And so when I see this now, PJ Tucker putting his invoice or his order form out for his $1 million bag, and then just showing iced out jewelry and things of that nature. Y'all tell me, am I being too sensitive, or is this, in fact, one of those moments where we are being targeted once again to be the fools, and then we have one of our icons step up. LeBron James has also put his order in. I saw him purchase. Now, the thing about LeBron is that he is so iconic that LeBron most likely does not pay for his bag. He probably makes a statement, and if LeBron wears it, everyone wears it, which is probably why PJ Tucker has his order for him. LeBron already has his green bag. But it just makes me crazy when I begin to think about this. And we're going to come back to this because we're going to talk about our icons, these black men that young boys idolize, running around in skirts and knickers with um, designer handbags, and what images these might be pushing out there. And is there an agenda against the masculinity of our young black males? I think that's a real question that we have to begin to talk about. Now, if y'all got something that you want to say concerning this, we got a number that you can call. It's 989-921-7107. Once again, 989-921-7107. I'm going to ask that if you would like to share your comments or your thoughts, that you would drop it. We would love it, but you got to keep it classy. Keep it classy. This is straight talk. We give it to you straight, no chaser, no filter, but we do keep it clean. So if you're going to call in, I've put the number in the social media stream. You can catch it, 921-7107. I would love to hear what you're saying. We're always targeted. All right, so we're going to continue on now. This is additional pop, and I don't like to do a whole lot about popular music, but when we have individuals that have really changed the face of entertainment and our voices that impact our culture in such a profound way, I think it's important to talk about these issues. Saginaw Cap says it just shows you we have no collective standard for ourselves, no black agenda, just individual exploits. You do you, I'ma do me. YOLO. You only live once. You are absolutely right. And that is the thing that is destroying our communities. Shout out to LaBrenda Cohen's all the way. Hello from Arkansas, as we used to say as kids. From Arkansas, we certainly thank you for tuning in. Get your play cousins and your cousins up the street to come on and tune in down there in Arkansas. All right, so we talked about the $1 million bag, but this is what we got to talk about. We got to. I haven't said a whole lot about this, but I'm going to now. Sean P. Diddy, Puffy, Love, whatever his name is, whatever the name is that you refer to him by, we got to have a conversation about him. P. Diddy now, he has seen a suit against him. Mr. Combe has that. That's what we're talking about. Subjected to him because of patterns of control and abuse over about a decade. And this took place by a Miss Cassie. We know her as Cassie. Her actual name is Cassandra Ventura. They were dating for, I guess they were saying, about a decade or so. There are some serious allegations that have been made concerning this situation, including when she was 19. There was a pattern of control and abuse that included plying her legs with drugs, beating her, forcing her to have sex with a succession of male prostitutes while he filmed the encounters. And in 2018, the suit says that near the end of the relationship, Sean P. Diddy Combs forced his way into her home and he raped her. And after years of silence in the darkness, Miss Cassie Ventura said in a statement she's finally ready to tell her story and speak up on behalf of herself and for the benefit of women who face violence and abuse in their relationships. Some people say that the chickens have finally come home to roost. I hope that if these allegations are true, and when we see what's going on and we see the nature of the beast, a lot of these jokers are finally being exposed, and very well they should be. I think that it is really crazy what's going on. I see you, Paul Bourne. He says, I have not seen the bag. My mama told me not to go into a woman's purse. Uncle Paul out there in San Antonio, Texas, brothers not only going into a woman's purse, but they got their own purses. So you stay out of their man bags and they merces or whatever we call it them this day. But now we see this happening. This is a destruction of another black man. And if this stuff is real and it appears with a record settlement, he vehemently denied everything that took place. But in a record settlement time of less than 24 hours, we see the settlement was for $30 million. There was a settlement. The lawsuit was for settlement for $30 million. It was a settlement that took place in less than 24 hours. That is an undisclosed amount. We don't know. But we're seeing this happen over and over again. And we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop. We know that Keefe D, former person in the rap game, confessed that he ordered also for Tupac to be killed. Many people are saying that this is time for us to have another. We had Surviving R. Kelly. Now we're having basically another episode of Surviving P. Diddy. How do we deal with what's going on in the world of entertainment? And I got to ask this question. What's happening to our black stars, our black male stars? Puff Daddy, he's, come on. These are allegations that are being made. But we all see with our eyes. We got eyes to see. There are other people who have been saying this. Jaguar Wright, I believe is her name. Another young woman. She's been saying this forever. LaBrenda Khan says Dr. Dre is next. Now, this is my question. This is what I want to ask the family while we're sitting here together. Once again, if you'd like to make a comment, the number is 989-921-7107. This is my question here, because we see what's happening with all our male black stars. We see Dr. Dre, someone just threw in the social media stream. We hear this about Puff Daddy. We see what's going on with stars like Will Smith and his wife just blasting all of their personal business all over the place. We look at D Wade and Dwayne Martin. You know, Lisa Ray has been saying forever that Dwayne Martin stole her husband. But these things are coming to light and they're happening so frequently. The situation with Dwight Howard, Hollywood has always been Holly weird. I get that. But this is what I'm saying. You know, it seems that when it comes to the exposures that are taking place, it's not everybody who's running. You know, we got a Jeff Epstein situation that took place, and that was something that you almost never see take place, right? But now we see stories of Quincy Jones, everyone across the board, but all these folks tend to be black. And so as we are taking down box house smashes and we're doing all of these things, there are other communities that are willing to keep their people in place, to keep the benefit and the money, hush money and whatever, keep going. They were obviously broken before reaching celebrity status. I absolutely agree. Somebody said, let's not forget OJ. I just want to say that I understand, and I think that we often have to get these weirdos from Hollywood out of the way and have some meaningful conversations of the type of things that are meaningful to us and why we give such so much attention to these individuals. But in the same token, I have to often ask, you know, why are other people not doing the same thing when we understand that these people are doing this? All right, come on, black men do stuff. Black folks do stuff because they see other folks do it. And they think that because they have made it to a certain echelon of living and wealth, that they can get away with it. Just ask Tiger Woods, who thought he was Nero, Blazo, Blacko, whatever he was, Asian, and found out that he was just another Negro. So we often see these things take place. The thing that is somewhat disheartening in the process, if I could say this, and I know it's a weird line to walk, but I'm going to say it anyways, hopefully that somebody will understand what I'm saying. I don't condone any of this madness taking place. We saw R. Kelly, arguably one of the greatest artists of all time, go through a similar demise, right? The problem is that it always seems to be folks of color who hit the explosion express to be exposed. What do you call it? Expulsion. Who receive expulsion from the Hollywood process. and we don't see these other names. Absolutely, Michael Jackson. And we as a community are ready to cast the first stone. The good book at least says, let him without sin cast the first stone. But we are so ready to cast the first stone when it comes to folks who look like ourselves. Okay, there, I said it. I'm done with it. So may God have control over what takes place. I believe that if you've done wrong, you should be punished for what it is that you've done. But we got to be also aware that other communities aren't doing this in the same way that we're doing it. Yeah, but black men might not be as quick to settle to keep it hidden. Well, I think that P. Diddy would say differently, but I agree with you on that. So I want to move real quick. We have something amazing taking place. Is coming, is coming, is coming. We all know we're nostalgic about what has been happening in the city of Saginaw. We saw that with the tailgate that took place, the Saginaw High tailgate, with everybody and their mama came home. Well, they just released that they are moving the final Saginaw High versus Arthur Hill, two schools that would cease to exist, which I hate to see it happen. I understand that these schools were really based around the fact that we would have 100,000 folks living in the city of Saginaw. That no longer is the case. We're probably at 46,000 people living in the city at best. And so there was a need to do some things to consolidate so that our children can really have some great opportunities for education. Now, what that should look like or what that meant for history is all up for debate. But what's happening now in February, we see the final Saginaw High versus Arthur Hill basketball game getting ready to go down. I need to know, are y'all excited about this? I've seen so many people talking already about trying to make sure that they come home. I was sitting here talking to your afternoon girlfriend, Yvonne Daniels, and she was like, wow, this is happening during Black History Month. And so my thought is that I would love, yes, Orlando Jones said, yep, we coming. Saginaw High class of 83, LaBrenda Cones. I hope I'm pronouncing your name. Are you coming back for this? And are you geeked for this opportunity? Let me tell you what I like about this and what really gets me excited. And we're going to take a commercial break because I'll be gone forever. What I like about this is that it gives us at the top of the year to begin to do something that is excellent, that hopefully sparks a windstorm of other opportunities for us to collaborate as a people. My prayer is that in February we come and we pack the Dow out, which I think has about for a concert, I think it's like 5,000. So maybe for basketball, it might be somewhere around 6,500, 7,000 folks that can come in there. I would love to see our community pack this thing out. I would love to see our community have vendors and people selling things and food trucks. And we do this with great fashion. We show out what's happening. We do something great. And make something great happen of this. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, the number is 989-921-7107. So many of you have great ideas and thoughts. If you'd like to share your thoughts and ideas, feel free to call into the studio. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Absolutely. That's it, LaBrenda Collins, Without Violence. When we come back, we'll talk more of Straight Talk. This is Kareem. We're back with more Straight Talk. I want to just give a shout out right real quick to all the teams that won. I came in and my producer said the Lions won. So the Detroit Lions won. Alabama won. Michigan versus Alabama is the next up to go. And also the Saginaw High Trojans won. Um, family is in Alabama. Clash of the Titans, Pastor K. I got you. I hear you. I hear you. So congratulations, Wolverines. I know all of those Walmart Wolverines that are out there are so proud. They're so excited for their team. I ain't gonna hate. I'm not. I'm a hate. Yeah, I'm a hate. I'm always hate. I'm a Spartan. But anyways, I want to make sure that we celebrate the Wolverines on a job well done. They are looking like the team of the to beat the team of the decade. So I'm excited to see when any of our teams are doing well. I don't hate that much that I can't celebrate greatness, even though I know some of them feel the same way. But anyways, we were talking before. We want to make sure that date in February. Now I want to transition just a little bit. We're going to bring in. I've already spoken with some of the coaches that are part of this team. I've talked with the radio powers that be. I want to do live broadcasting from the actual game that's taking place. I think for those who cannot make it home, we want to make sure that they get a live play-by-play call. Remember how they used to do it back in the day when you could turn on the radio? I used to hate listening to the games on the FM stations, but you could turn on the radio and you could hear the game if you couldn't be there. We want to get interviews for those who are coming back home. We want to make this a celebratory movement moment, and I have been doing my part. I want to make sure that we get the media involved and that they cover this because this is history in the making. And since we could not keep both schools open, we want to make sure that we showcase our history and we drive some of the narratives as it relate to what our history is about. The game has been moved to the Dow Event Center, and it should be an amazing time. So let's prepare accordingly for that to happen. But there's something else that's going down that's happening in the city of Saginaw. It's happening this coming Saturday, moving forward, Saturday, December the 9th. We are having, and when I say we, I'm talking about healing, engagement, love, and presence. That group of men who are changing and making moves and strides in the city of Saginaw, one person at a time, grassroots effort, a summit on Saginaw's urban youth, and an open gym. We're going to do an open gym on this coming Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We've partnered with our great folks over there at the Y. Doug, shout out to you. He's running the joint, and he was just saying, hey, we want to make whatever impact we can for the city of Saginaw. So, you got the ballers out there that want to play ball, and we understand what is happening, but we're bringing our kids back to the YMCA, giving them an opportunity to shoot hoops. It's cold outside. Gyms are at a premium. So we're going to have an open gym from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Yes, we're praying for a successful summit. The guys in the green shirts will be there. We're going to make sure that this is a fun, a help moment where we can get in and we can get those young brothers out there and sisters. Please hold. We're getting, as the year turns, we're going to take care of those young women as well. But I, as a man, have no right to be saying what a young girl needs. I think that there's a role that men play into speaking into the lives of young girls, because young women often are lacking the same things that our young men are lacking. But we are putting together a coalition of women who are powerful, and they are locked and loaded in terms of their experiences. Some of those sisters have had rough pasts, but we're making it happen. This is about to happen. So we're going to be allowing our young folks to play basketball. They're going to get it in. They're going to play ball, enjoy themselves. They got other game. There's some STEM initiatives. My students from the Dow Treasure Academy will be hosting STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Opportunities for those young people. Will be exploring the wonderful world of STEM, letting the young people do the teaching and the training, as that should be great fun. And then in the same token, we are going to have a summit on Saginaw's urban youth. And the reason I use the term urban is because that's what they always use to refer to us on the low. So we're going to use the same term to refer to us on the low as well. But it's for all the city youth. If you are a youth worker, if you are someone that works with young people, we're talking pastors, we're talking teachers, clinicians, therapists, um, anyone who works with program coordinators and directors, First Ward, the NABE. We want to do something that we often don't do. I don't want you to come in and sit and listen to somebody talk. That's not what we're doing this coming Saturday. What we're doing is we are creating a summit. We're bringing in folks from every walk of life, and there will be some young people present, but that is not what this focus is about. It's about those who provide services, those who work with parents, all of our parents who are, have children, young people, men, young boys that are a part of the help process will be there. We need parents, school officials, civic officials. I've already received a response. Kristen Rivet, Kevin from Kirsten Rivet's office called and said, "Hey, we heard what's going down. We want to be in attendance." We're going to bring those policymakers and other folks in. And what we want to do is we want to do three things. The first thing that we want to do is we want to begin to assess where are we as a community? Where are we at? What are we doing? What are the things? What are the successes that we have? Where are we? Let's take a collective assessment on what we are all doing, and then we want to ideate. So we're going to assess. We're going to ideate, and then we're going to find ways to collaborate. So ideation is basically when we get into the room and we begin to think, what is it that we desire to see? What do we want to see? And everyone that comes to this summit has an equal voice. In this summit, we're looking for opinions, thoughts, ideas. We're going to be very honest what works and what doesn't work. There's some things that, we're not coming up in here with things that we've already done that were not considered fruitful. But we want to challenge ourselves to be creative and think outside the box for things that we can do together. And then we're going to find that space for collaboration and set a window and a framework in which we can come together on a regular basis to see that we begin to implement some of the strategies that are coming forth out of this conversation, and then implement those things as a part of the process. Come on, let's not do what we often do. This ain't our program. Oh, we've done this before. No, this is not the same thing. I promise you. We need you to come out, get involved. This is going to take place this coming Saturday. The open gym will take place from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The summit on our youth will take place from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. STEM engagement will take place from 12 to 1 p.m. Come on out, get involved. Let's make sure that we make this happen. Okay, so now we're going to transition to the conversation that we wanted to have today. Today's topic of conversation is going to be on modern day plantations. And I know that this is not a popular thing that I'm talking about, but I need to make sure that y'all hearing what I'm saying. The number, once again, if you say that you have something to say, is 989-921-7107. If you want to give your opinion or your thought and you like to share it online, please, by all means, call 989-921-7107. I just want to make sure that as we have this conversation, there was a subtitle that I came up with: "Massa will fix it." Modern day plantations, quote, "Massa will fix it." And the reason I want to have this conversation is because I've been looking at a few things, and I'm not happy with some of the things that are taking place. And I think that many of you should be disturbed by what's taking place. And since we're getting ready to do some voting and put people in place, it's important that we have these conversations. And I want to talk about, I'm talking about this because I'm stuck in this book that I'm reading. And I told you all on last week that one of the things that came out of that was Canceria Ingera. And that means, are the children well? And if the children are well, then that means that the village is well. And so the Maasai warrior, one would say Kansaria Ngara, and the other would respond, the children are well, meaning that the village is well. Well, folk, we got some things that we need to talk about here today. When we look at what we are now seeing our young people pack out arenas and taking on the looks and the images and hairstyles and singing their lyrics. I saw a video of young boys singing a song by Sexy Red, talk about their anatomy. And I'm like, bros, what's going on? Twerking and things of that nature. We need to have a conversation. So one of the things that bothers me is that when we look at what took place and we look at the wars that have taken place on the community, against the community, not just the things I'm talking post-civil rights movement. I'm talking about 1984. I'm talking about crime bills. I'm talking about the mass incarceration, the things that have taken place in our community. And we have to understand that these things have come, and they have a price that we have paid generations following. Nothing that can happen of that magnitude doesn't just go away and doesn't have implications that will be lasting. And now we're dealing with the lasting implications of many of our communities being robbed of the male figure that took place. We now are dealing with communities that are dealing with the loss of the work ethic or the value, the financial burden that a man would carry as he comes into our community. And we are now having to have some real conversations about what's taking place. We got prisons that are still filled with folk who are in prison for selling nickel and dime bags, selling weeds, a weed, little corner boy weed man. You used to have the weed man back in the day. And I'm a young dude, but I remember growing up, families and the Gold Slipper and York Harrison place. My parents were DJs, so I know about these things, right? And they would have they would smoke weed as folks do today. And the fact that this law has recently passed in Michigan and it's passed in other places all across the country lets us know that black folks weren't the only ones smoking weed and getting nickel and dime bags when this stuff was happening. And I've never been a weed smoker. Okay, so I just want to know. Yes, the Gold Slipper. We know Champ and all of Chet and Champ and all of the folks. I grew up around a culture of folks. Yes, I grew up in church, but my parents were both DJs as well, Mellow, Fellow, and Sparkle. The UNI Sportsman Club. Yes, we know about all of those things. And I say that as a little kid because, like I said, my parents would do parties, DJs, and they kept it hype. So I was aware of a lot of these things taking place. But what's interesting is this. The very thing that so many of our black men have these cases that are running around, felony drug charges, whatever it is. Now we see in this new age the emergence of these weed dispensaries. And this is my problem with what's going on. Okay, you've made that clear. That's my mother out there saying you ain't got to let everybody know, thinking we had a kid at the Gold Slipper. But as a young man, I was allowed to sing to my mother on her birthday, "Sparkles in Your Eyes." Hey, it's a part of the life. It made me who I am today. All right. But I see weed dispensaries all over the place, and the interesting thing about this is that when we were trying to push, and we were doing things, and men were hustling, doing weed, because this is what the people wanted. When our community was doing this, we had folks that were making this thing happen. And I'm never going to, glorify drug dealing and things of that nature. But there is an understanding of the process that is problematic for me. And it is another example of modern day slavery. We now expect. We now see massa coming in and taking territories and making things happen, and making things that were once illegal now legal. But when we look at the faces of the owners of these dispensaries, we see that none of the folk who own these dispensaries look like us. Most of the dispensaries that are owned by white folks in the community. There's some other folk that are a part of the ownership of the dispensaries that are in the community. And as a matter of fact, I know several black groups that were trying to get dispensaries and trying to get grow houses and other things of that nature. But they were not allowed to partake. They were blackballed from the process. The process became so difficult. They did what often took place, which was they made it such a financial burden that Henry Kissinger would be the only person who could do it. But they made sure that the process was okay for folks. Now, this is what gets me going here. Understanding that process was the way it was, and some of you, I'm preaching to a choir because y'all know what I'm talking about. Understanding that this is what took place. When I look at folks who go, why do we populate and we go in and purchase these products from these places? when we understand that we got family members who have cases that are directly in line with weed um, consumption, not necessarily consumption, but weed delivery or dispersing weed in the community. Now they've made it legal. They put white folks over it. They're owning them, and we stand in line for, to get and to buy and to consume, the spirit of consumerism once again, from these same places that we were blackballed from trying to hold places and to bring wealth into our communities. I don't understand this conversation. I don't understand this whole concept. We were doing it. It was wrong. They do it. They find a way to control it so that they can finally get paid. And that's the reason why it was wrong when we were doing it, was because the government wasn't getting paid. Now the government has found a way to get paid, and folks in the community are going, and you taking your hard-earned dollars to these places that we were blackballed from the process of getting in. We believe in generational worth. We believe in leaving legacy for our children. But once again, we were not allowed to be a part of this process. And some people say, well, you didn't have your ducks in order. Come on, man. Half of our community that would have been great for this are running around with felonies that are attached to this. So they now could not be a part of this process. And so I need to have a conversation. I'm not convinced that it's even the same product. Hey, Saginaw Cap, you just did that opioid crisis and the funding conversation. He says that I'm not convinced that it's even the same product. Smells like it's more THC addictive properties added. Come on, man. Why you know it is? As a matter of fact, I was talking with one clinician, and they said that when you get this stuff in, allegedly, this is what was told to me, this is what I heard, that when you get the stuff from those places, that it's mixed with so many things, and the regulation on what is actually being produced and added is not as great as being told. So you can understand that, like they did with everything when crack cocaine came into our community and heroin and everything else, they want to make it more addictive so that they have return customers. So that fact, Mr. Bulls, does not evade my thought process. But it should make us think, and it should make us go, back in the day, CNC said things that make you go, But the problem that I have is that we as a community, we don't see that we have power. And if they would not allow us to be a part of the process, why would you run with your money to patronize these places that are in your communities? The fact of the matter is, when you cross certain lines within our community, you don't see weed dispensaries in those communities. So when you go to certain places, if you in those places and you want to use weed and you're in the township, good luck at finding a dispensary on a corner in the township. You're not going to find one. So you got to drive back into the city. These users, they look at us like we're the ones that continually keep these places in business. But if you sit for a while, it ain't just us alone. But we don't see, if it's a benefit to the community, then why don't we see these, at State and Center Road? That's a great location, good foot traffic. Why don't we see them at Tittabawassee and Bay? These are great places and location where there's tons of people, great foot traffic, to really make some money and give back to the community from the money that they're bringing, right? That's the story that's being sold. But no, they're put in, just like when you go to our community, there's a liquor store on every corner. It is not by a happenstance that when you look at our community, yes, there's churches on each community, on a lot of the corners, because faith is what brought us to where we are. We had a time when the movement of Black folks, that the NAACP and SNCC and other folks and King and Malcolm X did, came from places of worship. But we've then found that even though there is a place of worship on the corner, what they did is put a liquor store on the other corner. So now, which is poison, you know what I mean? And not that we're perfect, because when I used to get my drink on back in the day when I was doing what I was doing, excuse me. But when you now begin to understand the poison that's in those bottles and the issues that have come into the community because of that, we have now opened the community once again in the name of growth and prosperity and financial increase and tax bases. for another industry to come into our community. And folks are not buying baby formula, but they got weed in their house. They always borrowing $20, but they always smoking weed. Everywhere you go in the community smells like one big skunk after another. Jeffrey Bulls asked the question. I don't think it's the same thing. I believe that it's probably not. And so now we have young people that are being addicted to vape pens and weed pens, the little pens, whatever you call them. And we're allowing these places to have a foothold in our community. But it's okay. This is just another modern day plantation, and massa will fix it. And it doesn't stop there. I see you. Thank you very much, producer. But when we look at the stores that are owned in our community, no black stores owned in our community, no grocery stores, but there are folks of Middle Eastern descent, and this is no knock against them. They come in, they get tax incentives, and they change names and family members and keep those free tax breaks going from one to the next. And I don't blame them. I mean, we can't blame them for a society that gives other folk who come to this country and immigrants a greater hand toward being financially free than they do our own community. So that doesn't mean that we need to get mad at them. Some of them are nice, but then some of them treat us like we don't. You buy. I mean, come on. When we look at the hair stores, black folks are the leading consumers of fake hair and weaves and all of these other hair products, processes, straightener, no lie relaxers, everything that you got. But we don't own a single store in the community. And they come into our community. And if you would begin to do your research, some of those lace front wigs have so many chemicals that are seeping down into your brain, and the process that's going in, natural seems to be a bit more beautiful every single time we think about it, because we are putting those dangerous chemicals right in our heads. And so I want us to begin to think, I love my people. I love my community. But we've got to really begin to challenge and desire more. Orlando Jones, I'm going to catch this comment that you have. He says that Premier on the corner of East Genesee and Janes. Now they own the west side. I'm not died. They tore down Hamilton Bakery after they went out of business and built Premier Cannabis. But once again, that's in the city of Saginaw, and it's not in the township boundaries. She said she loves seeing the naturals, always have. I think Miss Donna's talking about the natural curls. Hey, our black is beautiful. Let's begin to celebrate those things. But we've got to begin to talk. At the top of the hour, someone mentioned something about we don't have a black agenda. When we talk about black agendas, this doesn't mean that we're anti-white. Let me make people, because folks get scared when we talk this way. And when I have conversations with my light-skinned counterparts, they get a little nervous when I have these conversations. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to begin to start dealing and thinking about things generationally. How does this not just impact me as an individual, but how does this impact the village generationally? And everything that we do, and this is why this summit is going to be so important. We're going to stop putting Band-Aids on things that require real surgery. And there's some things that we've got to do, some hard decisions that we have to make. I think that we're going to have to find that no one's going to come in, as I say oftentimes, with an S on their chest, with a cape around their neck, to come in and to save our community. So it's going to be up to us collectively, my brothers, my sisters. And I want to, apologize. Sometimes I can come off really hard on certain things and certain folks. It's because we need everyday people. There was a song that I grew up in the church that we would always hear. It takes ordinary people. God uses ordinary people to make extraordinary changes. And oftentimes we wait for those who are PhD'd, who have master's degree. I have one of my own. But what I recognize is that if we don't come together collectively, those who have education, those who have no education, those who are working in community centers, working with our kids, those who are working in police stations, sanitation workers, everyday people, we have to be able to come together. We've got to be willing to understand that it requires each of us, each one to reach one, to rectify and to rebuild the walls of our community. Dr. Rick Layton, I consider it a great privilege and a blessing to know that you are even tuned in to Straight Talk. Thank you for what you're saying. We need our fathers to come back, those fathers with voices that we can lead us into a new place, into a new dimension. If we're going to do something and have something that we've never had, we've got to try something that we've never done before. This is Kareem. I'm tuning off with another edition of Straight Talk. God bless yourselves. Take care of yourselves and each other. Grace and peace.